PK, just want to revisit the comment you made earlier in the season. It was fall camp. We were talking about Anthony Hill's development as a linebacker, really challenging him to grow as a linebacker, not just as a football player. I was just wondering now, revisiting that 4 or 5 months later, what you've seen out of him as far as his development as a linebacker, not just a football player.
Yeah, he's made great strides in his zone coverage and in his drops. He knows he's still got work to go and things to improve on, but yeah, his progress has been good.
Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, PK. Sark was very complimentary of Cam Scatterbo and just the season he's had, especially the way he's playing lately. What do you see out of him on film, and what makes him such an effective pass catcher specifically?
Yeah, so he's a big physical guy. He's got good speed. He's got good change of direction. He has really good contact balance. He's got, I think 1,000 yards after contact through the course of the season. And then as far as a pass catch, he's just got really good hands. He makes the catches he's supposed to make, and they obviously highlight him in the pass game. I think he's the second leading receiver.
Brian Davis, you're up.
Hey, Coach. Steve has talked off and on about the secondary, and how the pass defense has gotten better over the season. But I wanted to hear you just talk about philosophically, what did you want to change during the offseason, and why do you think there's been such a dramatic jump in the secondary?
Schematically, we went to more of a post style defense going into the season. We lost Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, and we had AC and Vern coming back. We weren't sure how we were going to be able to play the run with two high safeties with lighter boxes. So that was the main catalyst to that switch. And then from the secondary standpoint, playing with a middle closed, we were able to play tighter coverage, play with more outside leverage on a lot of the route combinations that we're seeing. And then credit to those guys, they took their growth and learning to a new level. As much as we like to tell them to stay off social media and not listen to outside noise, they hear it, and so they knew they had to get better. And starting in January all the way to camp to now, they've attacked that challenge.
Cedric Golden, go ahead.
Hey, Pete. How much of a luxury was it for you in the offseason to have an old defense? I mean, you got veteran guys. Makuba coming in is a veteran guy. How much of a luxury was that for you from a teaching standpoint?
Yeah. So when you got veteran guys like we do, they've become coaches on the field for the new guys, right? We install the defense, the techniques, the concepts, and the new guys, it's all Chinese, right? It's all new language. And so having older guys that have been in it and experienced it and know the ins and outs of it are able to reteach what we're trying to get across to the new guys. And so the learning curve speeds up for those guys because of it.
Kirk Bowles, you're up.
Yeah, Pete, I don't know if you self-critique a whole lot, but has this been your most satisfying season as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, you know me pretty well. I tried. You're only as good as your next performance, right? And so, no, but to answer the question, I've had some really good defenses and in the past, and yeah, to be where we're at right now, yeah, it's been fun. And a lot of that's attributed to the players and the assistant coaches. It's fun to go out. Obviously, it's fun to win, but there's a lot that goes into winning, and those guys attack every week. Their preparation, the new opponents, the same, and the consistency that they've prepared with all season long is a big reason why we have been as successful as we have.
Perry Middleton, go ahead.
Coach, as we watch this game, there's a lot going to go on, and the defense is going to probably come with their A game as well. But I'm curious for myself and for fans, how can we watch the game better? How can we watch it through your eyes? How could we make the experience better?
Yeah. Well, it helps when you have a little bit of base knowledge of like how D linemen are supposed to play and how linebackers are supposed to play and how the safeties are supposed to play. And if you don't, it's tough. It's tough to know what they're supposed to do. So, but just the details of hand placement, footwork, pad level, we call them. I mean, they're fundamentals of every position. Eyes. They're not the fancy, flashy things, but those are the nuts and bolts. Those are the foundations of every position's techniques, how they got to execute the calls. And so, the cat and mouse game that goes on with offenses trying to attack us based off our leverage, our alignments, the numbers, and then how they're trying to attack us in the run game with leverage, changing the motions, changing the numbers, changing the picture, and gaining leverage in numbers that way. But you have to have a little bit base understanding of what's going on to be able to appreciate that.
Max Cepeda, go ahead.
Hello, Coach. Max Cepeda of the Walter Cronkite Sports Network in Phoenix. Good to meet you. Can you just kind of discuss what it's been like these last 7-8 days since the game of preparing for a running back like Cam Scaccia, obviously, someone who finished in the top 5 in the Heisman voting, but more importantly, you guys have prided yourselves on run defense for much of this season. Just what has it been like just watching the film, and what's been the most glaring skill that you've just seen?
Yeah. It's easy to grab our guys' attention. We just put the tape on and watch him run, break tackles, keep his feet, make guys miss, catch the ball in the backfield. First of all, we grab their attention by putting the tape on how the guy runs and how hard and physical he is and productive he is. And then for us, we just go to work, putting in the game plan, learning it, and then going out and practicing, not only the calls, but our leverage, our fits. We aren't able to tackle as much as we'd like because it's late in the season and we played a lot of games, but as much as we can get into those fits and we can do everything as far as leveraging the ball, bending our knees, getting our near foot, near shoulder in position to make the tackle, and then basically getting ourselves in the best position without tackling. That's been the emphasis. And a lot of that, to add to that, it's also being able to defeat blocks, right? These wide receivers do a really good job on the perimeter, right? You can see it on tape, right? They believe, right? If they block, right? They block a little bit extra, a little bit harder, right? That the Scadaboo's gonna get positive yards, big plays, and so it all goes hand in hand. That's been the emphasis. And again, techniques, fundamentals, leveraging the ball, leveraging blocks, all that stuff has got to tie in together.
Joe Cook, go ahead.
PK, I know you talked about you played closed field coverages and things like that, but when you can go ahead and put number 7 and line them up from one of their top receivers, how much does that help the entire defense when Jahdae can basically lock up a guy across from him depending on his assignment?
Yeah, when you got a guy like that is really sticky, is gonna lock his guy down, and you can do some other things, little subtle things, lean in the post to different guys. Linebackers don't have to get as much width in a drop. There's just subtle little things, knowing that that you got a guy that can lock his area of the field down.
Corey Most, go ahead.
Pete, just wanted to ask you a quick question about the technology this year. I know that was a big topic of conversation heading into the season. From a defensive perspective, where have you seen that helmet communication benefit the most?
For us, I will we signal and also communicate through the mics. I think the benefit from defensive standpoint has been the offenses. They might be stealing our signals or trying to steal our signals, but they might not. Are those signals really the signals? It's just another fog, right? It's another area that puts fog on the playing field. I mean, we could be using the mic system the whole time or not. I think that's been a big advantage for us. The other thing that I've noticed is offenses are not necessarily going as fast as they have in the past, because maybe they're concerned about us getting communication from the sideline to the guy with the helmet to change calls, make them aware of stuff if they're lining up in formations really fast. And so those are probably the two main things.
Thomas Jones, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, PK. After the Clemson game, Michael Taft said he was glad that Klubnik had some success against your pass defense because it forced him to learn some things. What did you learn from the Clemson game?
What I learned from the Clemson game is, we've got to be on point with when we play good quarterbacks and quarterbacks get hot. We've got to make sure, right, that it goes back to the week of preparation, right, that we are preparing in the right way to take whoever we're playing's best shot. And, I think that was the main thing out of it. And then, it reminds these guys, that these quarterbacks that are athletic and accurate, we got to do a good job of making them feel uncomfortable and do everything in our power to try and keep them from scrambling around where they now gets into plaster drill and guys can create space or take advantage of the dead areas in our zones. Those are probably the two main things.
Chip Brown, go ahead.
Hey PK, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How specifically have Johnny Nansen and Kenny Baker contributed to this defense, and where has Colin Simmons improved the most, and what's his next step?
Yeah, Johnny and Kenny have been awesome. Kenny does an outstanding job with the D-line, teaching the techniques and getting them focused on the details of playing those techniques. And then Johnny's been awesome with the linebackers, helping them with their pass coverages and the issue plays that we see week in and week out, playing cover three a lot. And so, I mean, whether it's those two guys, right, Coach Joseph, Coach Gideon, everybody's got a hand in the kitchen here, making this thing work. It's not just one guy, and the players respond to him. And then Colin, what was your question about him again?
Yeah, where's he improved the most this year, and what's his next step? What does he need to improve on most?
Yeah, the improvement he's making is in his technique and fundamentals. Pad level hand placement, being physical on a consistent basis. The easy stuff for him, or what comes to easy him, is rushing the passer, coming off the edge, but being able to play the run game at a really physical level. That's where he's making strides. And then his next step is just being able to know the defense inside and out, and just decrease the mental bust that he has during the course of a game.
David Eckert, go ahead.
Hey Pete, appreciate the time. Just curious, do you aspire to be a head coach? I mean, you've been such a great defensive coordinator for so long. I was just curious whether you held that aspiration at all.
I have not actively aspired to be a head coach. No. Just I stay in my lane. I do the best job that I can at whatever role I have. Whether it was a D-line coach or a linebacker coach or safety coach, but I've never actively chased head jobs.
Anwar, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. Coach, I wanted to maybe if you could talk to me about the journey that it's taken for you to have a complete defense like you have now. I remember asking you a couple of years ago about, a pass rush, and you said, what pass rush? Last year we were talking about the secondary and challenges there. This year it's more complete than it's ever been. Can you just talk about what it from start to finish, how you were able to finally get here?
Yeah, it starts with trust, right? Getting the guys believing and trusting in the coaches, and then in turn, they by their performances and how they practice and go out and play, earning the trust of the coaches. And then it's paired with getting them to believe in playing hard and playing physical, playing for each other. We versus me mentality. And then recruiting. We've done a good job of getting better players and creating competition. And the guys have responded to that, right? Everybody wants to start, everybody wants to play, and so as you bring in better players, and then they start pushing those guys, that raises their level, and so the level of competition that has risen amongst the position groups, and then going against our offense every day, right? They pose a lot of challenges with what they do in the style offense, being able to run the ball, shifts and motions, all the different pictures that we get, and we got to align to formationally. All that ties together. But the biggest thing is the belief, the trust, the caring for each other, and the playing hard and physical.
Now, time for one last question for Coach Kwiatkowski. CJ, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, normally in this time leading up to a late January or a late December, early January bowl game, it's really important for these extra practices for the young cats. Can you speak on what their roles are still? Is it still about development for them, or is it still just about, the game prep and scheme installation on a week to week?
Yeah, you trying to get those guys during the course of the season. You're talking to them and coaching them up on the techniques and fundamentals that they need to get better at, and keep them growing as they're going against the offense on the scout teams, right? But the way it is now, especially in the playoffs, it just goes to you don't have like 20 practices or 15 practices. It's week to week, game to game. So it's very much in season mode. And then, you got the portal situation where guys aren't here to develop, they leave and look for another opportunity somewhere else. So all those factors sort of, it's not the same as it was when it was just strictly bowls and you had these 3-week periods to get ready for your game.
Thanks, PK. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. All right. Happy New Year.